everybody. I'm Kipp Snow, Director of the Transportation, Distribution, and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey everyone, Mike Singer. I'm the Community Manager for Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers, and welcome to Two Guys Talking Ship Podcast, episode 66, sponsored by Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. How you doing, Kipp?
I'm doing all right. It's kind of cold and dreary out this morning.
Yeah,
I think we're expecting a little bit of the winter precipitation, and so that's ugh.
yeah. Hey, before we get into that, if you're new to the channel or podcast, give us a like, subscribe, or hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come available. Hey, so how did you handle the snow? What was it? Almost a month ago now.
It's been quite challenging with.
We got free labor built in, though.
Yeah, but when the free labor gets snowed in other places, it becomes a little challenging to get the free labor over to
said
handle
location
the transaction. So, yeah, no, there was a multitude of issues, like everybody else was having, with that snow, with the ice being on top of the snow and having to. I think somebody on our street upset the county because we only got one passing through, and so
really,
so we were having to drive on top of the ice for a good bit up until this week. So, how about you?
Well, let me tell you how smart Mike thought he was. So, I knew there was going to be ice on top, so I said, okay, well, I'm not going to wait. I don't care how much it weighs. I don't want to wind up having to chop through ice.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was keeping up with the snow. And then I guess the last time that I went out and shoveled it, I guess I didn't accommodate for like how much snow, rain, how much sleet, rain, and ice would weigh down the snow underneath. And so I wound up doing the exact thing that I was trying to avoid, which was wind up with a darn ice rink. So, I thought I left enough, and then you come out the next day, and there's a pile of snow where I didn't shovel, and then there's an ice rink, like a toboggan line, where I had already shoveled. I'm like, well, that was smart, Singer. That was dumb. So then I had to go out and shovel all the stuff that I kind of already shoveled, like right next to the house. So you kind of came out the door and you're like, trying to shimmy next to the house because that's where I had to shovel because the other stuff was just a death spiral of ice. I'm out there just trying to shovel and, my wife's inside, she's, and I'm like, yeah, I already fell twice.
I thought
we worked through it, and but
I was like you. I thought I was going to be smart and get ahead of it, and let me go halfway and get the snow out and salt everything. Well, all that did was when the sleet came through, it just made it ice over quicker, and so I did have that nice skating rink also. But
yeah.
Hopefully this time around it won't be like that.
Yeah, and we have propane heat here. Well, it's electric, and we have a backup propane. But so the propane was getting low. The heat pump froze over, so we're on like emergency heat, which is like, and which is not so expensive. And then I realized that the path to get down to the propane tank is like a death ice luge. And so then I called the company. I'm like, hey, can I get a refill? And they're like, okay, we're 5 days out. So I start shoveling it out. But it was kind of fun because once you got to a certain point, I was just chucking the sheets of ice and watching it go zzz, down into the backyard.
I was going to say, it'd probably take you 5 days to dig out to get to it.
a bunch of unintended, I could credit that as, okay, that was a workout. That was a workout. You come in and you're peeling off like all these layers of clothing and just, ugh. I mean, it was good to get a workout, but yeah, it was challenging.
Not like that. Sure.
And we're about to get some more.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully this won't have the ice like that was. But.
yeah, I don't think it's supposed to. It's supposed to warm up pretty quick afterwards, so it won't be around for long, I think.
All right, why don't we go ahead and get into some of our shipping updates? So this is these are the shipping metrics, the current year and the past 2 years, so you can look at some year-over-year trends. So what I found interesting, and I'll let you go through your totals here, but I did find interesting the 2024 numbers versus the 2026 numbers. So go ahead.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the green column on the left, and I see how much higher it was. Right. And those 2024 numbers are leading up to
Correct.
the Key Bridge accident.
So we had some really, really strong numbers. Now I'm playing Monday morning quarterback here.
Right. Right.
It would have been really cool to see what these numbers were today without the Key Bridge involvement.
Yeah.
And would we have had such an incremental increase year over year over the past 2 years? And this is just strictly looking at metrics, or I'm not looking at actual data or potential contracted receipts or anything like that. But it's interesting to see those numbers.
Yeah, so if our numbers coordinate here, I'm going to start with beginning of the year. So average daily truck transactions per week. 3043, 3843, 3938, 3748. All right, this is the end of January. 2794. It was 3 days for the snowstorm. Right? Closed 3 days for the snowstorm. Then 3021, 3408, 3555, which was just the last week. Yeah, so can't really make a whole bunch of. You're really hard to put anything together there. I mean, there was a dip for 2 days off with Christmas. There was a dip for a day off with New Year's Eve. Then we rebounded on the week of January 10th with 2 days over 4K. The next week was 3,900. So it's kind of all over the place. I really can't make any assumptions.
So what I think I'm going to do with this is take the numbers for, and I have the numbers through 2017, is to include those daily average numbers in with this, and so that you can see a much better trend year over year. So why don't we can build that for next episode, and we can chat about that and see what those extended trends might take a look at. So elsewhere in the Port of Baltimore, the Spirit of Baltimore, or City Cruises, had an announcement this week, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that kind of surprised everybody. And then when I heard about the employee numbers, like they employ like 50 or 60 people, which I don't know, sounds like a lot to me. So
Sure.
Yeah, so Spirit of Baltimore, dining and sightseeing vessel and inner harbor attraction for decades, will close its Baltimore port this spring. The wording is a little weird there. Nobody's closing the entire port. They just mean they aren't going to be going out of Baltimore. City Cruises will stop operations on April 25th, the company said. So, interesting. You could have held out for like the end of June for Fleet Week. But I think they're moving to Washington, D.C. So
That's what I had heard.
So I guess there's there's more clientele down there. There's more work down there.
Well, I mean, it kind of, maybe in the same light, you're saying, hey, look, 4th of July here, but I would imagine they're going to have a very large 4th of July operational transaction to take place down there in DC. So
That's true.
maybe there is something that's aligned with that aspect of it. I hate to see them go.
Right.
They've been a staple here for many years. I'd be curious to see what if anything comes in its place.
Yeah, if anybody tried to fill that void, I mean, Watermark's already in town with what is it? The Catherine Marie? What was the name of the boat that we took on the Seafarers cruise last year?
I believe that's what it is.
And then they have the Raven, which sort of looks like I don't know. It's old school design. Like it has like the swooped kind of deck. It almost, this is gonna sound, it almost looks like a converted tugboat or something. It's
You're
not
right.
but,
Yeah.
it kind of has that look to it. I don't know. Maybe they could try to fill in that gap. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
So interesting news there.
Right.
Have to watch and see what comes about. Also, we know who this is. This is Joe Greco. Had a big announcement for him this week.
Yeah, so veteran maritime executive Joseph M. Greco will head the Steamship Trade Association of Baltimore. So I think we were both kind of surprised about seeing this.
Wasn't on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that Dave Hartman has been running the operation for a good while now.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Joe's been in the port for quite a bit. He worked with Tradepoint Atlantic, and most recently with Ports America Chesapeake. So he does have that connectivity with the local port operations and with labor operations. So this will be a good move to watch.
Yeah, sounds like a good choice, huh?
Yeah.
That role. Yeah, so yeah, David Hartman was my my MC buddy on the Seafarers cruise. So that's always fun.
Absolutely.
To kind of go on that cruise, support them, and share some knowledge. So hopefully he'll still be hanging out there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be. All right,
Yep.
so a couple other local port activities and transactions. Yesterday, the nuclear ship Savannah had their Marriott Open House Day.
Yep. And 409 visitors. I mean, I don't know if that's a record for them, but I mean, it sounds like it would be a record for them. I thought, well, let's say non-maritime day.
Correct. Yeah.
For a non-maritime day, I think that's a record. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. I think they've had bigger numbers, 500 or 600 on maritime day, but for just one of these,
open weekend.
yeah, I think that's a pretty strong. I think that's a pretty strong number. And then on the Shipwatchers group, we saw dozens or hundreds of pictures that people took, and people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like people were posting like 50 pictures at a clip. Yeah, probably 3 or 4 different people posted dozens of pictures from that day.
So that's what's really cool about the group, though, is that we're in here talking about this stuff and trying to get some information out, and then our viewership is out there actually participating in it and taking some cool pictures and making some memories and sharing that with everybody else. So even if you don't get a chance to go, you at least get to participate with it in some capacity. But
right, and it lets everybody else know that it's happening, like still happening. Like there, you might still have a chance to go. And folks who can't go, they get to look at all the pictures. But I almost feel like I'm not sure if we can take credit for this one because the episode before this one was incredible. The interview with the MDTA, and but we didn't have. I don't think we did a whole bunch of our other typical content, right? So, and that was a month ago. So
They did it. They did
maybe
good.
all these people, maybe they did this one on their own. Maybe we can't take credit for this one whatsoever.
Yeah. It's all right. Carnival Cruise.
Yeah, this was well, and so if you follow along on any Carnival Cruise Facebook groups, there's been an endless debate because Carnival said they were bringing in a bigger cruise ship. And then everybody gets into the conversations about, well, how could you do that? The ship that's in there is the biggest it can be. And then somebody says, well, the Key Bridge is down. You can bring any ship you want. And then other people are like, well, you forgot about the other two bridges. What are you talking about? And but suppose, right? And it's just the whole, every time somebody brings it up, I mean, is there any content? Is there any social media content in your life where there's this trigger issue, for lack of a better term, and then every time somebody brings up said subject, you go down the same rabbit hole. Everybody has the same discussions. I mean, do you have anything like that in your sphere of influence? Or
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, so and but really, there was a Carnival ship, and I forget what the name of it was. But the funnel, this signature funnel on the back of the Carnival cruise ship caught on fire twice. And then they removed the wings of the funnel. So it's just, when you're looking from the side, it's just, the stack and no wings on it. So the ship has, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet of extra clearance. Right? So they were talking about bringing that one in. And then there was a debate of, are they replacing the Pride or is it another ship? And then that would go on for 40 and 50, conversations in a post. And so for them to switch gears and say they're going to bring in another ship of the same class as the Carnival Pride that's here now.
That was one of my questions.
Right. On a different day of the week and do different itineraries.
Okay.
Right? Because people are creatures of habit. There's a lot of people that love to cruise out of Baltimore for the convenience. There are several hotels who will do shuttles right to the cruise port.
Yeah.
And you get to park right next to the ship, and it's fairly reasonable. It's, I don't know, it's $20 a day. $20 a day sounds about right. Something like that. I don't know. It's about $150 to park for the week, and you park right next to the cruise ship. You grab your luggage, you walk right into the building. It's all just right there. So, and as you get people that come and they've done their third, fourth, and fifth cruise, and the Carnival Pride pretty much, it has variations of its itinerary at the beginning and end of the cruise season, but mainly, I don't know, May to September, it's doing pretty much the same thing every week. So to have another ship, and now it's a sister ship, but it is a little bit different because I think it just underwent its big refurb. And then to do some, it's still basically Bahamas, but some different itineraries, different lengths, different islands. So to give the folks who like to go out of the Port of Baltimore a little bit of something different to do.
Nice. Okay.
So that's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. And then so let me go ahead and just read this. Carnival Cruise Lines expand Baltimore presence with second cruise ship for the 27-28 season. So beginning fall of 27, so we're way off in the distance here, but it'll be here before you know it.
Right.
Carnival Miracle will join her sister ship Carnival Pride in Baltimore to offer guests greater variety of Caribbean itineraries throughout the season. Miracle will arrive in Baltimore on November 20th, 2027, following a 15-day transatlantic voyage from Civitavecchia, Italy. Now, Civitavecchia is what's considered Rome's cruise port. It's about 45 minutes up the coast. That is the port that the cruise ship went out of, the Costa Concordia, when the captain decided he was going to get a little closer to the coast and waved to some friends, and he crashed it on the rocks. So that's why Civitavecchia is famous.
Okay.
My wife and I, Wendy, did a cruise out of, they say Rome, but then it's Civitavecchia in parentheses. So we had to get on like a train and take it to Civitavecchia, spent the night, and then cruised out of there the next morning. So a cool little town, man. Cool little town.
That is cool.
Yeah, because they don't cruise like out of Rome directly.
That's interesting. I hadn't really looked into that.
Yeah, and then they're actually selling that cruise. So it's a 15-day cruise, but there are a few European ports and then a few ports on the Atlantic side. So it's not, 50, you get on a cruise ship, you don't see nothing for ocean but 15 days and you show up in Baltimore. They've packed some ports into beginning and end of it, and they're actually selling those tickets. Repositioning cruises as they like to call them.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are two ship, specific ship updates that have taken place here for Port of Baltimore. One, the
right.
Neoliner.
So we're always talking about the Neoliner Origin.
Yep.
And we had her on our upcoming events that she would come to Baltimore, and it did. But geez, man, it always seems to come under the cover of darkness or fog. The last time it was here, when I think they had the problems with the mechanical sails. So the weather was nice while she was here, and we had some great pictures, and I think we put them up here on the podcast.
Yeah, sure did.
So she was here for a day or two, but man, this week it was so foggy out here. We probably lost almost 3 total days where you couldn't even see anything.
We've
had
got
this
white screen on the camera.
Yeah. And then I constantly try to move it to see something. I mean, anything. A tree, a flagpole.
To make sure it's still working.
Just so people, know the camera's actually working. Like, what is it? Oh, this is horrible. Oh, at least I know it's working. Because if you're just looking at, a gray screen, people might think, there's...
The camera's offline.
Yeah.
Oh, also we had a port of call cancellation.
Right.
And this was one that we had been trying to promote.
Right. The Statsrad Lemkel was supposed to be here January 30th through the 5th. And then, we had that deep freeze. And it was like the Coast Guard issued like a ice condition 1 for the Port of Baltimore. and it got a hold of them and said, hey, you might want to consider alternates. And there are restrictions to no wood hulls, and engines have to be above a certain amount of horsepower.
Wow. And that's
Yeah.
for what, all the ice breaking, right?
Right, right. Now, I think she met both of those requirements because it's not a wooden hauled ship. But they decided to skip the Baltimore visit and went and hung out in Norfolk for a few days.
Now, I'm not that offended. I would have loved to seen her come back, but I can totally understand. I would not want to be trying to come up the bay like that myself, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to remember. Did she come all the way across the ocean just to come to little old Baltimore? I was trying to remember, like, was there another port like before or after that?
Yeah, there was I think a series of ports of call,
Oh, okay.
and we just
For whatever reason, I thought there was only one or two, but you might be right.
all right. We do have some key bridge updates from in our last episode we had Jim Harkness on, and that was I appreciated that interview and all the time that he spent there. They're still continuing and progressing on. I got some pictures here to show.
So landside removal is complete on both the north and the south side. Now it's been complete for probably
Several weeks now.
yeah, it maybe more than a month. Maybe more than a month. 70,000 linear feet of concrete salt cuts completed. So, that's, I guess they're thinking about, how long each cut was, and 70,000 linear feet. Wow, that's a lot. 24,000 cubic yards of bridge concrete removed and recycled. And then they're taking that concrete, pulverizing it into like gravel and using it to build like access roads so that when they run off the old roadway into the construction site, they're not just doing a header into a bunch of mud 3 feet deep or something.
Right. Yeah, I did pick up on that with Jim explaining that they were repurposing it for the new some of it for the new construction.
Yep. 10,000 cubic yards of piers demolished, 175 girders removed and recycled. Yeah, so it's interesting to see that just so on this picture, again, for those who aren't familiar, we're calling these marine piers. So these 4 piers, well, it's really 1 on land and then 3 in water, but so these beams that are over the water are being left on purpose because they require significant additional equipment. Okay? And they're letting, and as Jim said, they're letting that contractor who is going to do the bridge build decide when to bring that bigger equipment in so they don't have to bring it in once to say, oh, we got the whole bridge taken down, and then it leaves, and then you have to bring it back months later. That would be probably more expensive and more inefficient than if while we're building, let's go ahead and take down these big sections. While we're already building, we already have this monster equipment here. Yeah, I just wanted to cover that. So in this picture, so take a look at those steel pilings in the water there to the left of the bridge. Can you point to those? So I'm pretty sure that's the beginning of the temporary trestle.
Ah.
So am I imagining you can see the curve in those pilings? There's a lot more there now, but that's the beginning of the temporary trestle. that is going to be next to where the new bridge will be.
Which is right in this area then.
I thought it was. Yeah, maybe you're right. I thought it was going to be on the other side. We'd have to pull up our PDF that I keep talking about, but yeah. So it is interesting to see that. You got some other pictures, or oh, there we go. It's just so interesting to we were watching them do this every day. They started on July 7th, and we've been watching them do this every single day, and to see it finally gone and done is quite interesting.
It is interesting. I think it's interesting also too. I mean, driving this road every day up until the collapse,
right?
And to be able to look at the end of the interstate, end of the beltway, back
off
up
in
in
the
here, and
distance there.
Then it just turns into dirt. It's kind of
right, surreal, isn't it?
It's a little bit better shot. I found it interesting in this particular Facebook posting. Somebody was mentioning the Ghost Fleet that was off to the right-hand side of this image.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And how well documented all of the Ghost Fleets are up in in Curtis Bay.
Yeah, that would be an entire podcast on its own.
We don't have time for that one. And here's from the other direction from those pictures.
Yeah. Very interesting. Hey, so next thing to cover is we found out that the Tradepoint Atlantic has updated their website. They have like this overall like satellite map where they've highlighted places where you can kind of put the camera. Those orange places, you can click on them and then you can see the view from any one of those orange places, and then you can see all the different labels of all the different things that are going on. And as somebody who looks at the camera, and we've covered this, the bulk handling, the $30 million bulk handling system that they're putting up. So even though we have this great 4K camera, we're watching them set this up. You really don't get to see on top of the pier. It's really hard to see which side of the pier, because when we talked to Kristen, our friend Kristen, comms for Tradepoint Atlantic, she was saying that okay, they're going to set this up on one side to leave the other side for other cargoes or other types of things that won't use this bulk handling system. So go ahead and zoom in there if you could.
So to give your perspective, your camera point is coming from over this direction.
There, yeah.
Okay, and so there's this is where Sparrows Point Container Terminal will be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can see the Key Bridge site in the background here, give you that perspective.
Yeah, great. Thanks for orienting us.
So this is the
what we all call the finger pier. And there used to be big cranes on this pier that were demoed and taken off. But now that we've zoomed in here, so you can actually see that this bulk handling system is off to one side on the pier, and you can actually see it's, looking at the pier in this direction. It's on the left side specifically. And they've updated this since then, because that tower on the left, can you sort of zoom in on that a little bit? Right, that they've covered that exoskeleton, if you will, with, some actual walls and such. And then if you follow that ramp up to the next one, like that ramp is complete, that tower is complete now. So it's really cool that they did update this view. so we can actually see the bulk handling system. But I mean, they're constantly working on that thing.
Sure.
So I thought this was a really cool view. So even if you're seeing the camera, you can't really see this that well. So I thought
The
it'd be cool to include this.
And so when we were prepping this site for recording, I had mentioned the view on the camera was all from this angle in, so we kept seeing this from a 90 degrees from this particular perspective. So it does
Right.
give you a better sense as to what they're actually doing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's also, for that camera to pick up that particular operation that far away is very impressive.
Yeah. It is pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
All right, so the last two things that I saw in the news past couple of weeks, the Baltimore Banner had an article that talked about the port handling record. And so the Port Administration had put out an announcement that the container numbers for 2025 exceeded 1.11 million TEUs, which was that passed the 2025 number by about 5,000. So, okay, yeah, the 2025 is going to have impacts because of the Key Bridge, but still, that's showing that you're moving beyond that particular metric.
Yeah, and some serious recovery. So
Correct. Now that number includes containers not just through Seagirt that we're mostly familiar with, but also Dundalk. Dundalk handles containers. Ruckert Terminals handles some one-off specialized containers, not the high volume, and
right.
Tradepoint Atlantic. So they are also doing some container moves, but again, it's not a high volume move.
Yeah, that is great that they were able to, combine all that, piece all that together in one metric.
Yes.
Because I don't think we haven't been able to find a way to do that, or it's not publicly out there.
There is some of those metrics that that do get collected like that, but they are released much later. They don't have it readily available in real time, like similarly to what we're able to do with some of the Ports America metrics that are being published,
Right,
in real time on their website.
right, right.
In the article, there was still some impact to Roro this year with what's happening down in Brunswick, Georgia, and that there is a change of bulk forest products going to Wilmington, Delaware, due to some price sensitivities and lower margins, and so that's interesting to see that movement. I would imagine that that's a commodity that just kind of ping pongs back and forth just to kind of chase after that. If you've only got 3 to 6% markup margin in those product lines, that's really tough to try to you know hold down a particular supply chain lane to
Right.
keep your numbers low. So
Right. Yeah, that's I'm glad you said it that way, right? Because every business has a margin, and then you want to stay above that margin because you want to be able to make money. Like the one thing I could point to, because my mom was a cashier when I was a kid at a grocery store, and you're not from here, but like growing up here, we can spit off 10 or 20 different stores, including like department stores. Like the margins in this area are so low, and people come in and think they can make money here, and it's really tough. And then they wind up disappearing because
sure.
we just can't operate in this environment. And I don't know what factors into all of that, but just knowing that from before helps me, see what's happening here. Okay. And of course, we love to talk about the Port of Baltimore, but if you're running a business and for some reason, I don't know, you're going to gain 0.5% by moving all your volume to another port. I can see that. I can see that. The interesting thing is that, and I think you'll remember this. Less than 2 years ago, I think it was less than 2 years ago. Well, maybe it was pre Key Bridge accident, so maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago. This bulk forest products that we're talking about were going to all these different ports, and we managed to combine it here in Baltimore. So it's kind of ironic and interesting that seems like it just happened. It's probably 3 or 4 years ago. Where, hey, we just got everything together to bring more ships into Baltimore. And now if I have all my stuff together and I'm not cross-pollinating cargoes or something, and now most of it's leaving. And I think most of it are those brown Spleethoff ships, that have those, and we've covered that before. They have those custom elevators on the side for handling the giant vertical paper rolls that we import into mostly South Locust Point, I thought, right by the cruise terminal. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, you understand the business aspect of it, but from looking out for our port, yeah, it's kind of a
so you just explained in basic terms the complexities around supply chain management. So a company, it's very
well.
basic.
It came from Mike, so he expected basic terms.
No, I mean, but well, yeah, but you explained it the way that it needed to be explained. I mean, that's so if I'm a business owner and I'm selling a product and I'm selling it for a particular price, and I have the ability to go and still provide the same product to the customer within the same time frame, but if I make a business decision to move it to a different port because their fees are cheaper or they have less volume so I can get the product through it faster, I may go and make a change like that. And as long as it doesn't, the customer's not going to know all they're going to see is the retail operation where they go pick it up. And as long as it's still there, they don't care. And so as a business owner, I'm going to go make some of those decisions that maybe reduce my costs more so that I can make more of a profit in the same process. There's two ways to make money here in business. You can sell more stuff, or you can reduce the costs associated with selling that stuff for you to make that profit. So that's that's why we're fortunate to have options like multiple ports of call. It's just, we in the Port of Baltimore need to make sure that we are explaining what our competitive advantage is and market it towards those products that best align with what those what those opportunities represent.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good point.
Also, there was another article in the Baltimore Banner about a week and a half ago about issues at Pier 7 heliport.
Yeah.
Do we all know that there is a heliport at Pier 7 in Baltimore?
I really don't know that much about it, to be absolutely honest with you. But I think the helicopters flew out of somewhere else, and now there's going to be more, and there are some concerns about that. But
so here's the gist, and here's what I've researched and found out.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so Pier 7 was created.
So one of us has done some research in this Two
bit.
Guys Talking Ship podcast. Okay, that's good.
A little bit. So So the pier itself was there was, I believe, also an investment by Kevin Plank to create a heliport at Pier 7, and so currently you had the old police marine unit. You had some the state police would stop there. There's a fueling. A fueling station there for the helicopters. There are some private charters that go out of there, and then some of the news helicopters come out of there. And so this is, if you've seen helicopters in and around the city, they probably have some connectivity to this heliport. The disbanded police marine unit, the old Baltimore City Marine Unit, is now going to create a maritime public safety center there at Pier 7, and they're planning on growing the heliport. So that's what this article is about. There is concern about, we typically see these types of concerns around ports and like, residential areas about noise abatement and those types of things. But we're starting to see it with this particular transaction also, with the number of helicopters that are moving in and around the port. Now we do export aviation pieces of equipment, so we do have military flyovers that come in to and land on the ports for them to be loaded off into vessels, so we do see those types of transactions. But this is more for a local local operation, local helicopter movements, and those things. So be curious to see what comes out of this as this continues to progress. So,
Cool.
all right. This was an idea that you came up with, and I like this to kind of recap what we have seen over the past year. When we sometimes start a new year, we just kind of go gangbusters into it. Let's keep moving forward. But I think it's important for us to kind of look at and recap what we have done. So
Right. And we did do this last year too.
Yeah. So you put together a list of Two Guys Talking Ship podcast big events for 2025.
Let's do it. Oh, look at that.
So this is a compiled list.
Yeah.
You want to run through your highlights here of all the? There's a lot of stuff that's happened.
It's a lot. Yeah, I'm just gonna roll through it, and we'll stop and talk about it when.
Now, real quick. Once we put it up on the screen like this,
Yeah.
you're like, wow, I can't believe that it's all of these things were taking place.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Let's put it that way. Like, let's think about, and these are just the top items, right?
You actually pulled some things off of here that from this list that we had originally.
Right. Yeah, just think about, the last year and all this stuff happened. And gosh, you and I were spending an awful lot of time talking about the ILA strike and the fact that was averted and seemed to be averted a lot quicker than we thought it would.
Sure.
If we can go back and remember that far back, 13 months ago. Like at the same time the Dolly was finished her refurb and was out going sea trials. That's what I think is funny sometimes. You're looking, wait a minute, these two things happen like within a day of each other or at the same time, and you almost forget that. The Maersk YM Trust broke 2 records in port. Key Bridge design unveiling with the governor, and that was like we had seen teases and we had seen some concepts that really weren't released by MDTA, right? And then there was a press conference with the governor, and that was the first time we had really seen, an official released picture of what we thought the bridge was going to look like. So that was cool. And then this is kind of crazy. Do you remember the very next day was Jonathan Daniels started his new position? I mean, that, right? Like, I don't remember that was like the day, like the very next day those two things happened. Like, I don't recall it like that. And then on February 25th, the port announced that 2024 was their best year in port history. So that's pretty cool. March 5th, Army Corps of Engineers issues the permit to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So that's a big key moment, because you don't have the permit, you're not building the bridge.
That's almost a year to the date of the collapse.
Yeah. And then there's nothing like celebrating St. Patrick's Day by the Hogue Aurora, the world's largest car carrier, arrives at port last year. Celebrating with a bunch of leprechauns and no. And then the Key Bridge anniversary and commemoration ceremony, which I was able to attend. I felt it was great to be able to go to that. And I think that was the first time that I actually talked to Jim Harkness.
Oh, okay.
Ran into him in the parking lot and recognized him by his photograph and introduced myself. So that was the start of having him on the podcast, I guess. Sure. And Brad was there, and I met Brad that day.
Okay.
Yeah. So Seagirt sets a new record for the most lifts on April 8th, and I'm always kind of amazed by all these little parameters that they go by. We've got lifts, we've got truck transactions. And been doing this, paying attention to the port with the ship watchers for 8 years, and I feel like there's still so much more to learn. And then the big news. Remember the big news last year? I mean, this was huge. The Buc-ee's Cruise Line announced that they're coming to Baltimore. We tried to pull that off as a joke.
Yeah, that was... As I was typing this up, I just started snickering when I saw it.
Yeah, yeah. That was kind of funny. I remember doing that podcast and thinking, how am I going to maintain a straight face when we show this picture? May 7th, Seagirt record month for containers. Last year, May 21st, so under 2 months after the accident, the channel deepened to 50 feet deep and 400 feet wide, allowing full operational two-way ship traffic. And remember, we talked about that. That was the minimum that the Maryland pilot said that they needed. We had a whole conversation about having them be a part of that process with the Army Corps of Engineers. Then just not too much longer, a few weeks later, Federal Channel fully opened to original depth and width. So that was sure seemed like a momentous occasion at the time, didn't it? Just to be able to the port to get back to the way it had always done business. There was and then sometime in June, and I don't have the date, but one of our ACL Conroes, one of those big container ro-ro ships, actually lost power, and we had the audio of that. June 12th, Katrina Jones, first African-American woman, is president of the Women's Traffic Club. So how cool is that? And, you know, we see Katrina all the time, and she's great. July 7th was when the Key Bridge demo started. So, and they got that done in less than 6 months. I think I remember reporting that they were thinking that was going to take 9 months.
Yeah.
For what was included in that demo, right? And again, those marine piers, those 4 piers over the water, they were never included. But to have everything gone, was just so much work. That just blows me away it's just gone now.
Yeah.
July 2nd, the port announced that Ro-Ro metrics were up 87%. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what that's up over?
No, so I mean that when you look at that's a large number, but that's a percentage over the past, so it's not
right. It's just where's that point that they're measuring from? I forget what that was. So Sims Mount Rainier, one of the biggest ships to ever dock at Seagirt. This giant can hold more than 15,000 TEUs. So the specifics about what I'm talking about. The question, is this the largest ship to come to Baltimore by TEU? Right? If you're following along, it was the T-Class Evergreens, and then it's the M-Class Evergreens, and we talked about how they managed to get, 700 TEU more into the same package. These are new builds that are regulars to the port. And then we were getting a bunch of these Zim Mount class ships into port. And there were a couple different numbers out there. Right?
I do remember you chatting about that.
Right. So the numbers are all over 15,000, but there wasn't a verifiable, consistent number that was. If it had been 15.5, those would be the largest because the M class, the Evergreen, the new Evergreen M class is 15,432.
Okay.
Right? And when there's a newer, bigger ship, Port of Baltimore socials are going to cover that. Sure. And they didn't. They talked about how it's one of the biggest, but they didn't talk about that it was the biggest. Okay. And then they stopped coming. So interested to ask maybe Jonathan about that. But there's one coming at the end of next month, at the end of March, which is interesting. Anyway, okay. I'm way off on a tangent here. August 6th, the 9-year anniversary of Helen Dealick Bentley's passing.
I can't believe it's been 9 years.
Does it seem a lot less than that?
Yeah.
2 months before that, my wife and I moved into this house. So, and that was before I knew what was going on with shipping at all.
Sure.
Right? We were just kind of sitting on our back deck and, gee, look at those red and green lights blinking out there. I think that's the shipping channel. Right? It's funny to look back. August 18th was that coal ship explosion. And my friend Norman was the camera operator. There was a ship going into Tradepoint. And this is where the conspiracy theorists went crazy. There's a ship going into Tradepoint, and he just happened to go, hey, let me go get this ship coming out from under, coming through the bridge site. And he pans over, and as soon as the camera got fully on the ship, that first cargo hold exploded. That was crazy to get that video. And then sometime in September, there was a container ship that had its radar broke off in port. And we actually covered that on the podcast, them with this crazy long boom, like hanging up and over the ship, like installing a new radar. I mean, where does one get a new radar for a container ship? I mean, just
Right.
go to Home Depot. I mean, how does that happen? Just fascinating. Think about the logistics of that.
Right.
You know, okay, I need a new radar for a container ship. How fast can you get that to the Port of Baltimore? That there's a story that we could do, just that in itself. Um, September 9th, the Port of Baltimore announced all key public terminal commodities up over 2024. So you love to see those growth stories.
Those trends, yeah.
September 23rd, Evergreen Line celebrates 50 years at the Port of Baltimore. You know, it's interesting to go back and see those old pictures of those small Evergreen ships,
Yeah.
right? And they were probably the biggest thing to come here from a container standpoint. And now, talk about your trends. Right? Okay, this was a big deal. September 26th, Howard Street Tunnel opens ahead of schedule. And we covered that quite a bit, and we had some really cool construction photos and
Yep.
and even a few videos inside the tunnel as they were doing that construction. September. Go ahead.
It was really cool to be out there on site and to watch the double stack train come through. So
That was really cool. That was really cool that you were able to kind of run down there and cover that for us. September 30th, speaking of the M class, the Ever Magna maiden voyage in Baltimore. Now, there's been 10 of those ships come to town, but not all of them were maiden voyages, right? But we do get a lot of, every one of those ships is newish, like within 3 to 6 months, because there's going to be 20 in the class. I think they're up to 13 or 14, and we've seen 10 of them here.
okay.
They've really replaced, when you look at the schedule, because it used to be the Evergreen T class, and those were those ones I'm calling non-branded. They were green, but they didn't have the words Evergreen on them. But they're on the Evergreen website, which I find interesting. And so the M class has seemed to replace most of the T class as far as coming to Baltimore is concerned. October 29th, the Neoliner Origin, which is that small ship, the small ro-ro ship with the mechanical sails on it, had its maiden voyage. October 30th, it shows up in port here in Baltimore. So that was pretty cool. I remember the months of anticipation about that. Because I think you broke that story. I don't even think I knew that was coming.
Yeah, I think I came across it by accident. And,
Yeah?
And was like, hey, you look at this thing. It's actually coming. And,
Yeah.
so it's been cool to watch. Not all of the festivities over in France for when it was when it was launched, and then follow it through. So it's been pretty neat.
Now, if we could just get them to schedule a daytime arrival.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not. It just seems to work out that way, that they're always here in the fog or under the cover of night. But we have had some really cool pictures of her in port. November 24th, Masonville Cove announced visits to topped 7,000 visits. Now, is that visit? I guess that's visitors. I guess that's people.
Head count.
Yeah. But that's really cool to have that recovery area right next to the dredge spoils,
and to give the local community direct access to the port.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty impressive for a port community to be able to do this, address the environmental concerns and give that access to the community. Is just
and to save a little chunk of nature for that, right? Because
Correct.
they didn't have to save that chunk of nature and set up a visitor center and have people come by to, come down to the water and see the life that's happening there and
Yeah.
what kinds of things what kinds of nature goes on right down there at the water's edge. Um, and then lastly, NTSB released its report on the Dolly. That was December 10th. So a heck of a year, man. A lot happened.
It has been. So I appreciate you putting this level of a review together because it kind of puts that context of really was a lot that took place, and the effort that it takes for a port community to, I'm sorry for the pun, navigate through these different types of activities to, to be successful. So I think the port needs to be commended. That's really what I would want it to, coming out of this is that look at all the stuff that's happened.
Right, right.
All right. Speaking of events, we do have some upcoming events.
Man, we are
here.
just hitting the Neolina Argent hard today, aren't we?
We are hitting it hard today. March 26th, she'll be back in, so we'll keep abreast as to any announcements related to it.
Mm-hmm.
At MyTags, the Maritime Institute of Technology and Graduate Studies down in Linthicum, they are hosting a conference in the end of March. It's the Mariners for America conference.
Okay.
To focus on the resurgence of the shipbuilding and ship repair industry here in the U.S. I'll actually be speaking at it. We have a panel discussion on workforce development around around this particular industry ramp up.
Yeah, and I imagine that would be an interesting discussion because you're talking about really specialized skills, right?
Correct.
And I think it's no big secret that shipbuilding in America has been on a downturn for decades, right? And so
Right.
you don't really have a skilled labor force that's specific to this to just
Correct.
let's go grab some guys that were laid off a year or 2 or 5 years ago.
Doesn't quite work like that.
Right.
So now we're having to recertify people within this industry to do all of those those particular aspects.
All right, I'm a little scared here. I'm starting to sound like Kipp. Next thing on it. What's happening here? Come on.
National Maritime Day will be May the 17th.
We've been hanging out too long together or something. I don't know.
Down at Pier 13, so we'll have some more information on that. I do want to bring to light this event. This is a new event. This will be May the 20th. This is midweek. Naval Academy graduation. This looks really cool.
Right.
You can purchase a ticket to ride on the John Brown to go watch the Naval Academy Blue Angels air show from the water.
Mm-hmm.
This is a must-have ticket here. If you want to be on that cruise, tickets are available at www.ssjohnwbrown.org. So May the 20th. This looks like a really, really cool trip.
Man, I think this is a great idea.
Yes.
Because I'm in the boating community. We have a boat. We've been on other people's boats. We've had our own boat down to Annapolis, and I mean, it's crazy getting out of there. It's like you're leaving a stadium. Only imagine that there's no real roads, and every time somebody takes off, it affects everybody else, right?
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, just getting out of there, it's like you're in, like when you made waves in the bathtub for your kid when they were little. I mean, and now just imagine you're on a boat and I mean, there's a lot of people down there. So what I'm trying to say is, I know that there's a demand for this, and it's one thing that everybody wants to do is to go see the Blue Angels. And now you combine it with this history of this ship and the fact that you're going to be on the tallest thing down there.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, you're going to be closer to these planes,
sure,
than everybody else down there. And you're going to have a chance to, have a cruise on this historic ship at the same time, and combine all that. Wow, what a great idea! I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I think this is an incredible idea. So I'll be surprised. I don't know what a sellout constitutes on the John Brown, but if it doesn't, I'll be surprised.
I was just about to say something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Coast Guard Eagle will be in port June 25th through the 28th, and then
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and then for June 24th through July 1, the Sail 250 celebration will be taking place. So those are all the current events for.
And I think the Blue Angels are going to be here for that.
That is correct. They'll be here all for the weekend. I believe that we have not only the Blue Angels, but the British Red Barons, I believe, will be here for an air show.
Wasn't there also a French team? Or
yeah, there was a French team called the. I don't know that one, but there'll be 3 air show teams that'll be here. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
And that's all I have for today.
Yep. So, hey, if you're following Baltimore Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers, we're all over the place on socials. We've got a Facebook group with 16,000 people on it that cover everything to do with the port. Folks take some incredible photographs. It's a great community to hang out. Join. You don't know anything about shipping. Show up, ask a question. Everybody's nice and friendly. No question is stupid. And we're on Twix. Shout out Amy Lawrence. Instagram, Reddit, Threads. We've got an extensive website with port maps, port schedules, links to the 2 live stream cameras that we help to set up, links to this podcast. There's a lot of information on there.
If you'd like to listen to us on the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and we got a couple more platforms that we are closing in on this week or so. So we're getting some more out there. So
cool. And if you like all the content that the Shipwatchers provide that I just mentioned, and you'd like to support the Shipwatchers and enable them to become bigger sponsors of the Two Guys Talking Ship podcast, you can become a member, a $5 a month contribution member on Patreon. So just look up Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. We do cover hundreds of dollars of cost to provide that content. And if you would like to do that, it would be greatly appreciated. We might be able to even buy some better microphones and camera equipment so that when we go do live podcasts, we can might be able to provide better production for those types of things also. So if you'd like to support us, that would be something to consider.
Absolutely.
I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead and count this one off. You ready?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Happy ship watchers. Ship watching something. I don't know. It's been a month. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoy the episode, and we'll see you on the next one.